Hello students, welcome to our APS classes, and as all we know that this is our foundation course especially for the students from 9 to 12. And in our today's lecture we will discuss about the class 11th, and this chapter is transport in plants, and this is chapter number 11. So here students, today we will discuss the important notes regarding this chapter, that is the transport in plants, how the transportation in plants takes place. That means there are various ways by which the transportation in plants takes place. So here this is the tip of the stem. Here this is the tip of the stem, and here this is the sugar leaf seed tubes, where the water follows by the process of the osmosis, and here this is the sugar solution that flows from the region of the low turgor pressure. Here the sugar solution flows from the region of the low turgor pressure, and here this is the fluid, and sugar enters the seed tubes, water follows by the process of the osmosis. That is equal to the high turgor pressure. This is equal to the high turgor pressure. And here in this way, sugar leaves seed tubes that are used for the metabolism and storage. Sugar leaf tubes that are used for the metabolism as well as storage, and here again the water follows by the process of the osmosis. This is the osmosis, and here these are the roots. So in this way the transportation in plants takes place, and in this chapter we learn about the various means of transport in plants. Next, transport mechanism. What are the various transport mechanisms are used for the transportation in plants? First is transport in plants takes place through the different mechanisms. That means for the transportation in plants we use different mechanisms where the transportation in plants takes place with the help of the different mechanisms. So our first mechanism, that is transportation in plants, there are four ways or four mechanisms where the transportation in plants takes place. Our first mechanism, that is diffusion. This is the diffusion. This is the first mechanism of the transportation in plants. Second mechanism is the facilitated diffusion. Third mechanism is passive transport. First mechanism for the transportation in plants is the diffusion. Second one is the facilitated diffusion. Third one is the passive transport. And the fourth mechanism that is used for the transportation in plants is the active transport. So here beta, there are four different mechanisms that are used for the transportation in plants. First mechanism is the diffusion. Second mechanism is the facilitated diffusion. Third mechanism is the passive transport, and the fourth mechanism is the active transport. तो यहाँ पर हम चार different mechanisms जो है उनको हम use करेंगे especially for the transportation in plants. So here beta, first is the simple diffusion. What do you mean by the term simple diffusion? Simple diffusion होता क्या है? तो इस सिस्टम में सिंपल डिफ्यूजन के मेथड में क्या किया जाता है कि जो मॉलिक्यूल्स है दैट मूव फ्रॉम द रीजन ऑफ द हायर कंसंट्रेशन टू द रीजन ऑफ द लोअर कंसंट्रेशन. So here the molecules move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, and especially this process requires the energy. In the simple diffusion, when there is a movement of molecules from the region of the higher concentration to the region of lower concentration, and in simple diffusion this process especially requires the energy, requires no energy. इस प्रोसेस में कोई भी एनर्जी की जरूरत नहीं होती है. Second one is facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion क्या होता है? Here in the system and the movement of the molecules, that is from the region of the higher concentration to the region of the lower concentration. तो यहाँ पर भी जो है बेटे, जो सिस्टम है, यहाँ पर जो मूवमेंट होती है मॉलिक्यूल्स की, वो होती है फ्रॉम द रीजन ऑफ द हायर कंसंट्रेशन टू द रीजन ऑफ द लोअर कंसंट्रेशन. दैट इज रीजन ऑफ हायर कंसंट्रेशन टू द रीजन ऑफ द लोअर कंसंट्रेशन with the help of a carrier. यहाँ भी मूवमेंट तो हो रही है मॉलिक्यूल्स की, पर स्पेशली यहाँ पर क्या है कि एक कैरियर जो है वो यूज किया जाता है, and that carrier it is usually as a protein. That carrier is in the form of protein, and this process does not require any energy, just as in case of the simple diffusion. फैसिलिटेटेड ट्रांसपोर्ट में किसी भी एनर्जी की जरूरत नहीं होती है, पर यहाँ पर एक एक कैरियर का यूज किया जाता है, एंड दैट कैरियर इज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ प्रोटीन, एंड हेंस इट इज नोन एज द पैसिव प्रोसेस. इस वजह से इस प्रोसेस को क्या कहा जाता है? पैसिव प्रोसेस कहा जाता है. सो दिस इज द फैसिलिटेटेड डिफ्यूजन. नेक्स्ट इज द एक्टिव ट्रांसपोर्ट. व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय द टर्म एक्टिव ट्रांसपोर्ट? सो दिस मैकेनिज्म transfers the molecules from the region of lower concentration to the region of the higher concentration. Region of lower concentration to the region of higher concentration with the help of a membrane proteins. So this is the active transport with the help of a membrane protein, and this term is known as active transport, not passive transport, but it is known as active transport because it requires ATP as a function. It requires ATP to function. So this is known as active transport. तो यहाँ पर आप नोट कर सकते हैं बेटे कि एक्टिव ट्रांसपोर्ट क्या होता है कि इस प्रोसेस में ये मैकेनिज्म जो होता है वो ट्रांसफर करता है मॉलिक्यूल्स को फ्रॉम द रीजन ऑफ लोअर कंसंट्रेशन टू द रीजन ऑफ द हायर कंसंट्रेशन within the help of a membrane proteins, and this system is termed as active transport because it requires ATP to function. Next is water potential. What do you mean by water potential? So water potential, it is used by the plants. Water potential is specially used by the plants to transport water to the leaves. स्पेशली ये जो वाटर पोटेंशियल होता है ये किस चीज के लिए यूज किया जाता है? ये स्पेशली यूज किया जाता है बाय द प्लांट्स, और प्लांट्स जो है उसको किस लिए यूज करते हैं? टू ट्रांसपोर्ट द वाटर मॉलिक्यूल्स फ्रॉम द लीव्स. लीव्स से वो वाटर को ट्रांसपोर्ट करते हैं, एंड दैट हेल्प्स इन कैरिंग आउट द फोटोसिंथेसिस. विद द हेल्प ऑफ दिस दे हैव टू बी कैरी आउट द प्रोसेस ऑफ द फोटोसिंथेसिस. Solute potential and pressure potential, these are the main two components of the water potential. So here water potential have two components, and these two components are, one is the pressure potential and the second one is the solute potential. Second one is the solute potential. So here there are the two water potential, one is the pressure potential and the second one is the solute potential. तो नोट कर सकते हैं बेटे आप कि water potential होता क्या है. Solute potential is also known as osmotic potential because it has negative in the plant cell and it has to be negative in the plant cells. Pressure potential is positive in the plant cells. So this is the major difference between the solute potential as well as pressure potential. In solute potential it is negative in the plant cells, whereas in the pressure potential it is positive in the plant cells. So this is the major difference between the solute potential as well as pressure potential. Higher the concentration of water in the system, greater will be the water potential. जितनी ज्यादा concentration होगी water के system में, उतना ही ज्यादा जो होगा वो क्या होगा? जो water potential होगा वो ज्यादा होगा. That means water potential will be larger when the concentration of the water is to be higher. That means the concentration of the water, if higher, automatically the concentration of the water potential will be higher. Next is osmosis. What do you mean by the term osmosis? So in osmosis, there is a movement of molecules from the region of higher concentration to the region of the lower concentration across a semi-permeable membrane until an equilibrium point is reached. So here this is the osmosis, and osmosis is defined as the process and where the movement of the molecules, that is from the region of the higher concentration to the region of the lower concentration across a semi-permeable membrane, and its molecules will be moved until when an equilibrium point is reached. The plant cell wall is freely permeable. The plant cell wall is freely permeable to substances in the solution, especially water. And osmosis is further of two types. One is the endoosmosis and the second one is the exoosmosis. And here endoosmosis is the movement of the water molecules that enters into the cell when the cell is placed in hypertonic solution. So this is the endoosmosis. And in exoosmosis, there is again the movement of water molecules of the cell wall when the cell is placed in hypertonic solution. In case of endoosmosis, it is placed in the hypotonic solution, whereas in case of exoosmosis, it is placed in the hypertonic solution. This is the difference between the endoosmosis and the exoosmosis, जिसमें की movement होती है water molecules की across a membrane, and it enters into the cell when it is placed in the hypertonic solution, and in exoosmosis it is placed in the hypertonic solution. Next is plasmolysis. What do you mean by the term plasmolysis? So plasmolysis is the process in which plant cells loses water when placed in the hypertonic solution, and it depends upon the three types of the solution. One is the isotonic, second one is the hypertonic, and the third one is the hypertonic. That means the plasmolysis, it totally depends upon the three types of the solutions, and these three types of the solutions are isotonic. Number one is isotonic, second one is hypotonic, and the third one is hypertonic. So in case of plasmolysis, it depends upon the three types of the solutions. Now let us start with our first solution, that is isotonic. And the isotonic solution refers to the two solutions. It refers to the two solutions within the same osmotic pressure. यहाँ पर ये दो solutions को follow करता है across the semi-permeable membrane, but it follows within the same osmotic pressure. Second one is the hypertonic. This is the solution which has lower osmotic pressure than the another solution. ये भी जो हाइपोटोनिक सॉल्यूशन है, ये एक ऐसा सॉल्यूशन है जिसका कि ऑस्मोटिक प्रेशर जो होता है वो काफी कम होता है एज कंपेयर टू द अनदर सॉल्यूशन. हाइपरटोनिक सॉल्यूशन जो है, दिस इज द सॉल्यूशन विद हायर ऑस्मोटिक प्रेशर देन द अनदर सॉल्यूशन. तो ये मेजर डिफरेंस है हाइपरटोनिक सॉल्यूशन में एज वेल एज हाइपरटोनिक सॉल्यूशन में. यहाँ पर जो है ये सॉल्यूशन जो होता है इसका लो ऑस्मोटिक प्रेशर होता है विद इन एज कंपेयर टू द अनदर सॉल्यूशन, जबकि हाइपरटोनिक सॉल्यूशन जो है वो एक ऐसा सॉल्यूशन है जिसका हायर ऑस्मोटिक प्रेशर होता है एज कंपेयर टू द अनदर सॉल्यूशन. सो द सेल्स व्हेन प्लेस्ड इन हाइपरटोनिक सॉल्यूशन दे स्वेल और गेट डीप्लाज्मोलाइज्ड. वो क्या कर जाते हैं, वो स्वेल कर जाते हैं या फिर डीप्लाज्मोलाइज्ड कर जाते हैं. whereas the cells when placed in the hypertonic solution they shrink, वो shrink कर जाएंगे. but in case of the hypertonic solution उसमें क्या करेंगे, they will swell up as well as deplasmolized. जबकि दूसरे में सॉल्यूशन में जो होंगे वो shrink कर जाएंगे and get plasmolized. so ये मेजर डिफरेंस है आपका हाइपोटोनिक सॉल्यूशंस में और हाइपरटोनिक सॉल्यूशन में. Next is imbibation. What do you mean by the term imbibation? Imbibation होता क्या है? Imbibition जो है बेटे वो एक ऐसा प्रोसेस है adsorption of water का that by solids, and that process is called as the colloids, and this results in increase in the volume. This results in increase in the volume. For example, adsorption of water by the seeds. Adsorption of water by the seeds. जैसे ही seeds को आप वाटर में रखेंगे तो आप देखेंगे कि जो सीड्स होते हैं दे विल गेट एब्जॉर्ब, वो एब्जॉर्ब कर जाते हैं. तो दैट प्रोसेस इज नोन एज इम्बाइबेशन, एंड द कॉमन एग्जांपल इज एब्जॉर्प्शन ऑफ द सीड्स. Next is transpiration. What do you mean by the term transpiration? Transpiration is the removal of excess water from the aerial parts of the plants. So this is the transpiration, where the excess water is to be lost from the aerial parts of the plant, and it mainly occurs through the stomata of the leaves, and it is influenced by the light, temperature, wind as well as humidity. Xylem, it helps in the movement of the water molecules to the all over plant. तो यहाँ लिखा गया है कि xylem, it helps in the movement of water from the roots to the leaf veins, whereas phloem, it helps in the movement of the food molecules or food prepared by the leaves, and after that it transferred to the various parts of the plant. So here the most important function of the xylem as well as phloem. Xylem helps in the movement of water from the aerial parts to the plants through the leaf veins, whereas phloem helps in the movement of the food from the various parts of the plants by the process of the photosynthesis. So here beta, this is the chapter, that is the transportation in plants, जिसको कि आज हमने पार्ट नंबर 1 में कुछ थोड़े से टॉपिक्स डिस्कस किए हैं। रेस्ट टॉपिक्स जो होंगे वो हम अपने नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में जो है वो आपके साथ डिस्कस करेंगे। सो वंस अगेन गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल द स्टूडेंट्स हु ज्वाइन विद अस आवर एपीएस क्लास।